Welcome to the Spiritually Inspired Podcast. My name is Jason Barniski. I'm a spiritual teacher, yoga artist, and author. The purpose of this podcast is to be the match, igniting your spiritual fire. Enjoy the show. Hi, thanks for coming on the podcast with me. I really appreciate you giving me some of your time.
I am delighted to be here always with you, Jason.
Yeah, so Jill and I know each other because she helped me find a publisher for my new book, my upcoming book. So I'm really grateful in how you helped me with that, and also some of the advice you gave me in terms of writing and being an author and understanding how the literary world works.
Yeah, thank you, and I love taking the mystery out of literary, and for people like you who have beautiful, important work to publish out there in the world, I love being a conduit to make that happen, to get publishers and agents for people. It just thrills me. So thank you. I'm glad it's been valuable for you, and more to come.
Yeah, absolutely. If you could give any advice to anybody who's thinking about writing a book or anybody who's a new author now, what advice would you give them?
Well, one thing is, I've helped people get book ideas and published, on just an idea. And I think, honestly, the problem for most people is that they keep waiting. They keep waiting. Like everything has to be perfect. And my friends, nothing will ever be perfect. And so one thing I feel really strong about is start getting out your idea now. Like, it's not a wait thing. Stop waiting for perfection and, that everything's right in the right order, and that, just get your idea out. Start talking to people about it. Let's put out what it is that you want, that you're passionate about, and that is what will drive your success. So that's really what I want to say to people is stop waiting and start acting now to put your great ideas out to the world.
I love it.
How about them apples?
I like that a lot, and I've noticed the way that you and then your other business partner, Randy Pizer, have helped me out so much, and I know this because I've tried to help friends who are working on a book or working on getting their ideas out, and for me and for others I've seen it's easy to be very disfragmented in thought. So to have all these thoughts and to want to go a million different directions, and what you and Randy helped me to do was really clarify my direction and then make an actual plan to get there.
Right, with like real world, let's get it done ways, right? We don't mess around. But I think that's really the point, is that it's not like you have to keep making new things up or new ways to do things. There's a lot of people like me. Well, maybe there's not a lot of people like me, but there are people who like me who know how to get things done in the publishing world. So one thing I'm always big on, like I help people in the world of publicity and publishing, and I'm really a big believer is go to the right people who are experts in their given fields and make stuff happen with them, because we already know how to do these things. Like you don't, this is for everybody. You don't have to keep reinventing the wheel, right?
One of the greatest pieces of advice I'll never forget, you told me sometimes we just have to get out of our own way.
Exactly.
Yeah, we know what to do. That advice hit so deep home to me that I was like, wow, okay, I need to stop making excuses and just get on the ball already. So something else I'm thinking about is like the literary world, business world, it can be kind of dog-eat-dog, and something that is so unique about you, and I haven't seen in many people in the literary industry, is people who are really willing to make things work but not sacrifice their values.
Right, and so you mean, so you're comment on that, right?
Yeah, and I mean, just sometimes opportunities will come in the business world, and it may not be 100% in alignment with what we want to do, or somebody wants me to help a cause or something that is just not in perfect alignment with me. And I've seen for you is like areas where I've had an issue, you've clarified, like, no, you're just in your own way, or yeah, you actually should hold on to your values and not work with this person.
So, like for instance, I do a lot of speaking and training in corporate and entrepreneur environments, and one of the persons who was booking me got some interest from Monsanto. So I'll just tell you, I said no. And, I'm just not aligned with them as a company. And even though they would pay well and all that good stuff, it's not right for me. So I said no. I think you just sometimes have to know when to say no. And that no is an okay answer, that you're not in right alignment with everybody or every client, and that's okay. It's okay. It's good.
Huh.
You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, absolutely. My mom did the same. My mom works in PR, and she does the same thing to all of her clients that you did to me when we first met, was kind of almost interview these potential clients to see if they're in alignment and to see if you really want to work with that person and support them.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Really good.
That's a much needed shift from like the normal societal day job where I go to work to get the paycheck because I have to do it, to where you can kind of get behind people and put your energy into them and really make an impact through them. You're such an incredible connector, Jill. I haven't met too many people that have the different connections and then just finds joy and purpose in putting those connections together.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And that is one of my gifts, right? Again, working with people and their different gifts. One of my big gifts is connecting, knowing the kind of right direction for people so that they don't waste time. I don't like wasting time. I'm a purpose-driven person. I have a lot to do. I'm also very spiritually based, and I take time for that in my life. And, I try to do balance, although I'm not as big of a believer in balance anymore. I just think you got to be in concentration with whatever you're focusing on. And, when you're ready for next, go next, right? But so that's just something, I've been looking at this concept of, does balance exist? I don't think so. Not anymore. I mean, and are there times where I have to just, I call it download days, I call it turtle days, where I don't do anything and I don't need to be anywhere, and I am not going to go over certain things, and then I just take that time for myself. That's beautiful. I think we need to know our own rhythms, what works for us, and there are times, just yesterday, right, I was feeling, just a little tired, not of sorts, and I've been traveling a lot, and I think, my day was officially over at 4:30, meaning my last call with the clients. I do a lot of publicity consulting, and I did. I went and took a walk, and I was proud of myself because I went and I took a walk. I got outside. I did some movement. All right, great, right? It's an and. I also knew not to push myself. There were probably 4 other calls I could have made between that and 5:30, and I just didn't do it because I knew that for me, what I needed to do was hang out, lay down, watch movies, which I did for the rest of the evening, and just tuned out a little bit. And that's a good thing. Excuse me. Our society is so driven by production, and I'm a major producer. I mean, I move. I'm on the move a lot, and I love that. And then I also know there are times where I have to rebalance, refocus, sleep, nap, whatever, get in nature, which helps me a lot. And so I really, in my life, try to do as much. That for me is what, balance is, what taking care of myself is. That's where I focus.
Yeah, I'm thinking as you said that, like life, there's always going to be ups and downs. No 2 days will be alike. So if you're really happy one day, you won't be as happy the next day, or you may be more happy. But everything goes up and down, and I think real balance is, so on the days when you feel more tired, it's just listening to your body and giving it what it needs. I think that maybe what balance is just listening to where we're at in the moment.
Yes, exactly. And especially in this, wild life that we're in, most of us, I think even more reason to be more insistent, honestly, on balance, whatever that means to each one of us, which of course is different to each one of us and what that means.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, you mentioned earlier about being a spiritual person. What is your spiritual practice like?
Meditation daily, and also I have a couple different things, depending. Sometimes I'll go into like a certain particular program. I always make sure that I, have in my life spiritual retreat built in, at least if I can once a quarter, meaning where I just go kind of quiet for at least a night or two. I always have a spiritual teacher on hand, so to speak. And then I have, I'm a member of a divinity circle right now. So I usually pick a program a year where I focus in on a particular teacher or teaching. And then on a daily basis, I practice meditation. I also, to me, nature is spiritual, and staying connected to the elements, is really important. So that, hanging out with my cats is spiritual. I actually call them kitty hugs. I do kitty hugs. I love that. And I take a break to do that as much as possible.
Yeah, and get kind of like, it's similar to what Eckhart Tolle said when they asked him about his spiritual practice. Is what I'm hearing like you're saying, is that just really being in the moment is the best spiritual practice of all, being here now.
Oh, yeah. And, frankly, the most demanding practice, I might add, being in the moment. It is. If you ask anyone the truth, right, that's what's most demanding.
Yeah, definitely the moment is the most current affair in our life, for sure.
Yeah.
So, I want to dive right into it. You have a couple New York Times best-selling books out, but the most recent one, I was reading into it yesterday, and it's so interesting. It's called Profit to Kindness.
Yes, Profit of Kindness.
Profit of Kindness. Wow. Maybe you can just give me a quick intro into your philosophy on the profitability of kindness.
Sure. Here's the thing. With the Profit of Kindness, what was so fun is we got to interview amazing companies and great people who are committed to kindness. And what I found interesting is that there's a very specific, I just noticed, well, let me just say that I noticed that those companies that are kind have happier customers. They have happier employees. They themselves, the CEOs of these companies, tended to be happier. So that, that's pretty cool when you're really thinking about, what does kindness really do in the world? What it really does is help people come together. And the truth is, in this world, what we need, and more than ever, I'm sure we all know, is kindness. So what was really interesting when my book came out, we had, a new election, a new president, and, I think we can all agree we need a lot more kindness these days. And so what's interesting is, people talk about ROI, return on investment, right, for what they do. And so what I put together was a return on kindness principles, and I call them ROCs, ROKs. And ROKs include such things like compassion. You'll love that, right? Because that's what you're all about. They include things like generosity and, that. So I have 7 ROCs, return on kindness principles. And then we talk about each one of those and the influence they have on companies. And, Jason, also say that being kind does not mean you roll over and you play nice all the time. Meaning, yes, you should play nice as possible, as often as possible.
Yeah, that's this. I'm glad you mentioned that. That's the second thing that I wanted to ask was some people, including, I should just speak for myself. When I am overly kind, sometimes I feel vulnerable or like I can be taken advantage of.
Okay, wow. Yes, it's a yes and. I mean, listen, it's one of those, what's the worst thing that can happen? And I don't think there's that many bad things that can happen to people who are kind. I've been taken advantage of being kind before. And all right, I just figure in life, if that's what happens because I'm kind, I'll take it. I'd rather it be that than other things. But I've also gotten, much more. I mean, I have boundaries now, and I have, it's a learning process, right, for all of us to a certain extent, what we need to do in life to make our best life. And being kind means also There are times where you say no. There are times when you tell people this doesn't work for me in the way they're behaving, whatever it means, right? And that could be different person to person, so I don't want to too much generalize it, but I will say what I've seen is that kindness is a general principle that all of us can follow. Costs you absolutely nothing. It can be as simple as smiling at a person you're passing in the street, and that can make a difference. Holding the door open, getting ahead of somebody, and if they have a package in their arms, and say, how may I help you? Can I carry something? I mean, there's so many simple things that you can do that cost absolutely nothing and are absolutely and will, and are making our world a better place.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think if everyone was just 2% more kind today, the world would be such a better place by the end of the day. So I think, what I do in my own life is when I'm given an option, I like to just ask myself, which is the kinder choice of these two options? Should I do this or should I do that? And whatever's just a little bit more kind, go that way. I also really resonate with you said about drawing or creating boundaries just to protect yourself. Because if we're not kind to ourselves, how can we be kind to anyone else?
That is to be kind, to be consistent, and to be on track with the people who are, who are in front of you, your clients, your customers, your family. How about that, right? And all of that's important.
Yeah, and really, what I was touching on was that, like, sometimes saying no to another person is self-kindness. And that's
exactly.
Huge. That's something that I'm working on. So
I know, I understand, believe me.
I know.
Most nice people have this issue.
So I know you got a really busy day. I want to ask you the main question of the podcast, and which is, what do you do to stay inspired through difficult times in your life to keep doing your work?
Thank you. Definitely nature. Nature is probably my primary healing mode. I go sit out on my deck. I go listen to birds. I go take a walk. I get to the ocean. I love the ocean. I watch sunsets. That's my sunsets. I'm a sunset chaser. Some people chase tornadoes. I chase sunsets. So that's really what I do to stay inspired. And every day, I thank God for another day. I say 5 things I'm grateful for every night, so that I'm continuing to stay as much as possible. And I'm not perfect. None of us are, but as much as possible, staying in gratitude for all that is happening.
Oh, man, I needed that. Thank you. Thank you, Jill. I needed that. It's funny because the new book that you helped me with, the one I'm working on, I wrote about many of the things we talked about today, about making gratitude lists and being kind. I love that. It's beautiful. And also nature. Oh my gosh. Nature, I totally get that. Going on a spiritual retreat, like you said before, is kind of like hitting a reset button.
So important.
Oh man.
So important.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for your time today, Jill. If anybody wants to find you or find out about the work or the seminars or help with publicity, how could they get a hold of you?
Thank you. Well, they can definitely email info@Jill, and then it's Lublin. Maybe you can put that in the show notes too. info@JillLublin.com. And also call me, if you have a book you want to do, you got some publicity, some messaging that's important, just call our office and we'll set a time to talk to you at 415-883-5455.
Great. And I'll add your website and things in the bottom of this podcast.
Perfect.
And the
That's
notes.
Great.
So thank you so much for your time today. I'm sure we will talk soon.
I'm delighted, Jason, to be here with you. Thank you for the great work you're doing in the world.
Great. And everyone listening, thanks for checking out the podcast. And have a wonderful day.